Do, 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 do. Thank you.
It's day 12.
You guys that are just now coming in, make sure you go to Canvas and do the attendance assignment. Attendance assignment on the Canvas. Okay, I'm sure more people will show up. Let me share a thing with you. So you guys showing up, make sure you go to Canvas and do the attendance assignment so you get credit. And so today I'm going to record a what's going on, how we're going to do class a little bit differently video. Hang on just a second. And I'll send that out over Remind. If any of you guys are not getting my Remind messages, please make sure that you go to Canvas and you click on the help button, and that'll bring up how to do that and how to do other stuff too. Really quickly, I just want to point out a few things. We are going to have, I'm going to put the PowerPoints up here like I did last time under resources. And then we are going to have class starting today. We're going to have class 3 days a week. Okay. The first class we're going to have during the week is going to be on Mondays. And so no matter if you are Red, Blue, or MyRock Online, you're going to be in class. So on Mondays, first period, Red kids, of course, are going to be in the classroom. The Blue and the MyRock Online students are going to come online. Okay. And that's during your class period. The next day we'll have class is Thursday. And it's the exact same setup, except the Blue kids are going to be in class and the Red kids are going to be online. All right. And then we're all going to be online for Q&A sessions on Friday morning at 10. So we were meeting after school on Thursdays. We're not doing that anymore. It'll be technically during school, right? Because it's supposed to be school from 8 to 2 on Fridays. So we're going to do this through this unit. Okay. And I saw some more people. Logging on. So you guys that are logging on, make sure that you do the attendance assignment on Canvas so you get credit. And then as far as cameras go, unless I've told you it's okay to not have your camera on, you really need to have your cameras on, guys, so I can know that you're here. Yeah, and so here's the way things are going to be due through this unit. It's not very different than before. At the beginning of the sorry, I'm blanking on. You're going to have notes from the last lesson due at the next class. All right. So today it's usually a Fridays usually should be a Q&A session, but we don't have anything to Q&A over today. So I'm going to do the first lecture of the unit. So I'm doing the lecture right now. Notes are going to be due on Monday. All right. Monday, we'll do the second lecture. Those notes will be due on Thursday. And then I'm asking for you to have Q&A questions turned in before Friday. And I'm just asking for 3 from each lecture. Right now I'm working with getting grades entered into Infinite Campus from the last test. It's taking a little bit longer because we have academic team region tomorrow, and it's all online, and it's kind of a disaster. But I know some of you guys are going to be happy with most of you guys are going to be happy with your scores, but some of you won't be. And so one thing I really want to strongly suggest is that during these lectures that you take notes some way, okay? If you can type fast enough and it's comfortable for you, take your notes in a Google Doc, okay, while we go. If you're better writing your notes on paper, do that. You know, I know it's the morning and I know you guys are at home, but last class, like I told the kid twice to open his eyes and then I just kicked him out. And I definitely don't want that to be the case with you guys. So make sure that you're, you know, sitting up, ready to go, taking notes, doing what you should do, okay? And so those notes today are going to be due on Monday. The Monday notes will be due on Thursday, and then questions and answers from the lectures are going to be due on Friday morning, and that's how we're going to do it, okay? Any questions before we take off? Okay, I forgot to say what I should have said at the beginning. Thank you guys for being here. I think it's really awesome that where I bet 90% of the students in our school are not really doing work right now, that you guys are up and at them. So I think that's rad. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but attendance does matter. If you don't attend the class and you don't watch the video, then you just get a 0 for the assignment. And then once those start to add up, I call home. And so, yeah. So here we go. Oh, this is the best unit in the class, by the way. Just making sure you guys know that. We're going to talk about revolution, overthrowing the government, killing people, chopping people's heads off, all the good stuff.
My kind of class.
Yeah, it's true. So anarchy, yeah, definitely some anarchy, Bailey. Oh, sorry, I said it wrong. Anarchy. And so we're gonna do oh crud. Hang on. I just realized something. Yeah. All right. I have to put this in a Google Drive. It'll take me just a second. I'm using like the big fancy slideshow that I made a few years ago because I think I told you guys before that this unit didn't change very much, which is pretty cool. So you guys are going to be impressed here in a second, I'm sure. Or not. And that's the reason I have to do it like this, because I have to be able to like use the animations. It's so fun. Okay. Okay. So I have to open it as a Google Slides file. Hope it works. It doesn't work. Okay, so that doesn't matter then. Interesting. Okay, so I won't have the really cool animations because I have to have you guys on another computer screen. So I'll fix that for next time. But it's still cool because there's colors. Yeah, way to go on those bangs, Abby. Those are cool. Mazel tov. All right. So in this unit, we're going to talk about the second most important thing that's ever happened to mankind. All right. The first most important thing was the agricultural revolution. Old school people like me would say that's when we went from being animals to being people. Okay, that's the thing that made things different, was the agricultural revolution, aka the Neolithic revolution that you remember from so long ago. All right. The second one is going to be the industrial revolution, and the industrial revolution is the reason you live the kind of life that you live today. That you are not just a subsistence farmer. I know a lot of you guys have farms and work on farms and all this kind of stuff, but even the way that you work on farms is completely different, and it's a different way of life than it was before. And so the second biggest event in human history happened right around 1750. That said, we're going to talk about the things that caused that event to happen, namely the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment. Okay, so let's start with the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution is a change in the way people think. And the best way I can explain it is for a vast majority of people on the planet. If we had a drought this summer and it killed all our crops, it was because God was mad at us. Okay. Wow, someone's driving like 100 miles an hour down Main Street in Crab Orchard. And there's ice on the road, so that's cool. Could you guys hear that? Jeez. And then there'll be like this little like Amish horse and buggy come through here in a second. And they'll slam into each other. Man, that sucks because I can't remember what I was saying. Okay, so it was, we had a drought, God hates us. We had a flood, God hates us. And that's the way we explained everything. We didn't we didn't try to prove anything. We only looked to explain it away. Okay. And it is, we're going to get a guy that's going to come up with the scientific method. And I know probably every science class you've ever had, like the first class they taught you about hypotheses and all that kind of stuff. But I hope that you guys, picked up on how important the scientific method is. Okay. The scientific method is why most people are getting the COVID vaccine, and it's why some people are not. Okay. And so when it comes to something like a vaccine, we have to apply the scientific method or we're going to kill thousands or millions of people, right? So we have to test it and retest it and publish our results and let other people take our results and try to disprove them until it gets out of the process to where, yes, it works. And so if you have trust in the scientific process, then you'll take the shot. But if you don't have trust in that, then you won't take the shot. Okay? There's going to be a whole lot more people that would take the COVID vaccine in 2021 than 1521, because we have a better understanding of the scientific method and how we can trust it. Okay. And the example that is pretty universal for the scientific method and the scientific revolution comes from your boy Galileo. Galileo. Let me go. All right. So Galileo liked this guy Copernicus, or if you're a sixth grader on the academic team, Copernicus. And so Copernicus came up with a heliocentric model of what at that point they called the universe. For us, it's the solar system. But Copernicus comes up with this idea, and Galileo's like, hey, that's pretty awesome. And then he takes this like telescope that was used like on ships, and he takes it outside. He starts like charting stuff, sciencing it up really big. And he's like, oh man, not only was Copernicus's theory right, I've got the math and the data to back it up, to back it up. I've got to tell everyone. And so he starts printing and sending things out, and everybody's like, wow, this Galileo dude, oh man, he's got the science. And then it shows up at the Pope's house. And the Pope, being the Italian that he is, says, oh no, this is not good. I do not want the people to think it is. And so we'll talk about that controversy here in a hot second. And then depending on whether you're a physicist, a chemist, or a biologist, you're gonna maybe choose Newton as the most important scientist ever. And the simple answer is gravity, right? But gravity is so much more important than why things go down. And we'll talk a little bit about him too. All right. So the long-term significance of the scientific revolution on society. I'm going to jump around here. I'm going to move that. And I can do that because I'm in charge. All right. So let's talk about your boy Galileo. Galileo finds that there's heliocentric. Helio is sun, centric is center. Geo is earth, right? So there's heliocentric versus geocentric. Now, there were definitely Greek dudes that did a whole lot of astronomy too, and tons of awesome Muslim dudes and tons of awesome Indian and Chinese guys and ladies, I'm sure. But when Galileo steps on this idea of the world is not the center of the universe, it's a problem. All right,
Mr. Brock,
hey,
are we supposed to be seeing the PowerPoint?
oh man, yes. Thank you, and you guys, and I'm mad at you and everybody else for not telling me that an hour ago. I want to fight you all in the same way, ninja style. Thumbs up if you see it now. I hate myself. Yes, everybody always do that because I mess it up all. Actually, I mean, 7 times out of 10, it's my fault, but sometimes it just stops doing it. So I'll take 70% of the blame. So it's kind of a stretch in, for some people, it's a stretch in logic for how we get God mixed up in, or why would God care what's in the middle of the universe? But for the Pope and the Church, like it's cut and dry. So look at it like this. The most important Bible verse for most people is John 3:16, right? And that's where it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, right? Okay, so that's the most important verse, all right? And that verse, you can definitely imply from that verse that God loves us the most, right? We're his greatest creation. Okay, so when God is setting out the universe, and most people agreed that the universe was circular, he's not going to throw us out over here on the side, right? We're going to be right in the middle, like right here. And everything else is going to revolve around us. Like you've probably heard people say, oh, you think the world revolves around you. Okay, humans think the world revolves around them. The universe revolves around them. Remember the Chinese, they call themselves the Middle Kingdom because they thought China was literally the middle of the universe. So I know it's like cocky to think, oh, of course, yeah, God's going to put me in the middle because I'm best. But that's the idea. And the church in the Middle Ages was in charge of science, right? And so there's all these doctrines that the Catholic Church has written up about how, you know, God placed us at the center of the universe so he could keep an eye on us, right? That we're like we're in a little ant farm, right? You just come up and like tap on the glass and be like, ooh, cool. Oh, wow. Look what Dustin Brooks is doing. Oh, wow. Oh, man, cool. All right. That's our view. That's our view. Okay. And then here comes Galileo saying, okay, well, hold on. I have a Sharpie. Okay, here we go. Here is the geocentric universe model. All right, here is Earth. And here is everything else, right? And they actually put the sun here, okay? And of course, God loves us. He put us in the middle, right? All right, but here's Helio. All right, sun is in the middle. And then there's that thing and one of these and one of these. And here's Earth, okay? And then here's one of these. And it's like, what? No way, man. You're telling me that I'm like the third rock from the sun? God would never do that to me. God loves me. And so we take the stretching logic that if God put us third from the sun, does he love the sun more than us? It just doesn't make sense. How could God do that to us? And it's already right here in the church doctrine that you're lying. And so you're coming up to the church and you're saying, hey, church, you guys are lying. And this is before the Counter-Reformation. And so, so the church is viewed as infallible. And so basically, here's this book that's saying God is lying and the church is lying and it's not real. And so the Pope calls him to the Inquisition. The Inquisition just means questioning, and it's the church court. And you remember that Martin Luther got brought in front of the Inquisition. And Martin Luther, they said, hey, Martin Luther, you're saying all this stuff about the church. It's wrong. You better recant. You better take it back. Martin Luther, kind of dumb, but lucky too. He's like, I will not do it. You are wrong, church. I'm standing. And if you have to kill me, kill me. And then they're going to kill him, right? And then his buddies came and kidnap him and hide him out. And that's the only reason Martin Luther lived. Like the next day, they were going to like tie a string to both his wrist and his ankles and just, right? So here goes. Martin Luther was a passionate man, right? And he was thoughtful too, but he wasn't a scientist. So now let's be Galileo and be just a gangster scientist. So they roll up and they say, hey, hey, Galileo, he's on trial. Galileo, is this what you're saying? Are you saying that the earth moves around, that it's not in the center and that the sun's at the center? Are you saying that the earth moves? And Galileo just says, Galileo finesses them. Here's what he says. Guys, I'm a mathematician. You know this, right? Let me show you what I did here. See that? I didn't carry the one. You got to carry the one. Everybody knows that. Boom. All right. Now, if I carry the one, like I forgot, my bad, sorry. If I carry the one, it shows here plainly that actually the earth does not move. You're right, guys. The earth is in the center of the universe and the sun revolves around the earth. I mean, it's common sense. It's real. I really, maybe I was drinking. I don't know, guys. I just messed up. It's my bad. I'm sorry. And they're like, oh, Galileo, we were going to split you into 4 equal halves. But since you've been so kind and wise and thoughtful, we're just going to put you on house arrest and get out of here. You're making me mad. And then he walks out, and this is true. He walks out of court, and then there's like 4 different people that wrote that they heard him say this. He looks over his shoulder and he just whispers, he goes, and yet it still moves. The earth, so he's like, we can say all this crap or whatever, the earth's still moving. It's still going around. And guess who's not getting killed? Your boy. All right. And so so Galileo totally finesses the Catholic Church and becomes like a scientific hero. Okay. All right. So Newton, gravity is not something that is that controversial on Earth, right? You drop a thing, it goes down. All right. But Newton finds out that gravity is what formed the universe. Okay. Now, he's not late enough in the game to come up with the Big Bang, but the Big Bang completely applies to universal gravitation. All right. And so he says everything has gravity. And if everything is pulling things to the center, that's why everything's shaped like a ball. Right? That's why everything moves in orbit. And at this point, we're not at the point where we can say that they are ellipticals, which they end up being ellipses. They go in an elliptical way. But still, everything is circular in that way. And here's why Newton makes people mad. He says gravity formed the universe. The universe was formed over billions of years. And here is a non-religious explanation for why this is. And I can prove it with these telescopes and this math. Now, a lot of people, well, no, not a lot of people. Some people are like, wow, man, you can prove it. I'm checking your sources. This looks good. Newton, you're like probably the most important scientist that's ever lived. But most people look at this and say, so you're saying God didn't create the universe? So you're saying my Bible right here says God created it in 7 days, right? And that's taking the 6 days off, right? So that God did it in 6 days. Are you calling me a liar? Are you calling my faith a lie? And the thing I want to show you guys with Galileo and Newton is this is still going on today, right? There is still a question about this. And in the next unit, we're going to talk about Charles Darwin. And at that point, I will lose my teaching license. I'm kidding. I love all the kids and all their beliefs. And I don't want you to, I don't talk about my beliefs. I'll talk about these people say this, these people say this. I'm too dumb to have beliefs. But think about today with creationism versus evolution, right? Has anybody ever been to the ARC experience thing in Northern Kentucky? Yeah, okay. Usually it's about half. You know, they follow creationist theory, right? And basically it's kind of this idea of, I don't know if they do this, but a lot of people do. They say, you know, a day to God is very different than a day to us, right? And so they can go and kind of do math that proves that, you know, these things happened in so many years, and that's so many days to God. And on top of that, and then what that also leads to today is people's interpretation of their own faith, right? And so and before I go any further, like the 4 smartest people that I know, like scientifically, mathematically, historically smart, they're devout Christians. So this is not an idea of, oh, look at these smart science people and these dumb religious people. That's not what this is about. But a lot of this is, how do you interpret your faith? Okay. And I promise you guys in this room, just knowing some of you guys, there are people in this room right now that believe that a lot of their faith is a metaphor, right? They think that, you know, Jonah being swallowed by the fish is a metaphor, that there probably wasn't a giant fish that a dude hung out inside of. Okay. And then there are other people that say, no, that happened. And we see that across the board with people saying it's a metaphor or it's a miracle, right? Like, I don't know of any religions offhand, off the top of my head, that really don't have some kind of miraculous things happening inside of it, right? Buddha meditated for like 7 weeks or months or years. I keep forgetting. You know, the angel Gabriel came down and gave the Quran to Muhammad. And so this view of there's a different explanation for why things happen, and it's different than what my faith says, ends up becoming a major rift. Okay. And then further, how do we line up on these sides, right? And you know, it's super easy for the atheist to be over here and be the person who's just going, "Oh, you guys are so dumb," and it's super easy for like I believe everything happened 100%, and you guys are going to hell for even attempting this thought. Like these two people, it's really easy to be these two people, but all these people in the middle, right? There's a lot of conflict there. And so throughout history, there's been times when this conflict happens, okay? But this is like probably the first major time. Next time is going to be Darwin. You know, oh, I want to talk about Darwin right now, but I can't. But we will. All right. So what does it do? It challenges the church. Okay. It also starts to challenge, and we'll talk more about this here in a second, social hierarchies. Okay. When we start examining bodies and their how they work, and we see that inside of a black person is the same as inside of a white person. When people start to educate slaves, we really start to question the morality here. You know, a lot of people use their religion to justify having slaves, right? A woman and a man, can they both perform the same mental duties, right? And then I like this, the wonders and the horrors of the Industrial Revolution. And all this is going to be wrapped around that Industrial Revolution. And so this is just a better hashing out of Copernicus and of Galileo. Somebody say something? No. Do you hear the Amish cart going down the house? Next time I go, I'll take the computer out the window and let you see. We can gawk at them. So let's talk about some of the principles of the scientific revolution. The first one is, we've already talked about this. It's empiricism. You guys heard of empirical evidence before? Okay. So there's this guy named Francis Bacon, which that's a fun name. And empiricism is, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. Okay, I have an even better definition. Watch this. Prove it. Just prove it. Now, whereas a lot of these Enlightenment thinkers, these scientific revolution thinkers, a lot of them tread really lightly and try not to, you know, get drawn and quartered, right? Francis Bacon is not one of these people. Francis Bacon says, if you can't prove it, it's not true. And he's very critical of religious people. Very critical. All right. So, and then the thing that is more important than any of this is he's the guy that comes up with the scientific method. What is it? Hypothesize, test, retest, publish, or something like that. I don't know. But he comes up with, like, you got to have a variable, right? If you don't have a variable. Speaking of vaccines, all of you sophomores, take my intro to special ed dual credit class next year. It's a fun class, and it comes with the Herbie Brock no homework guarantee. It is very different than the AP classes I teach. You'll learn a lot. It counts for a diversity credit at pretty much every college you go to, and we learn a lot. One thing that we're learning about right now is autism. And you guys have probably heard that some people say, oh, I don't let my kids get vaccines because vaccines cause autism. You guys heard that before? And this is not the time for me to go very deep into that. But the reason this guy found that vaccines cause autism is he did this study and he didn't have a variable. He didn't have an independent variable. So he just goes through, he has a hypothesis of what he wants to find out, and then he published it. And then later science got all over him and he got stripped of his license but he was a bad scientist and he got caught. Our boy Francis Bacon would not like the vaccine guy. All right, now let's go over to money and capitalism. Okay, this guy, Adam Smith, it's all about capitalism. Even though this guy never said the word capitalism, and actually it was communists who came up with the word capitalism, which is hilarious. So Adam Smith wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations. It came out because of mercantilism. We talked about earlier that countries want to get as rich as quickly as possible. And he says that free trade, keeping the government out, is the way we should do it. And the less we can have the government involved, the better. He uses this French word, which you guys know I don't trust the French, laissez-faire. Laissez-faire. And laissez-faire means, the actual definition is let them be, leave them alone. All right, but quicker, it's hands off. He says, if the government is very involved in trade, it's going to screw everything up. All right, he comes up with this idea called the invisible hand, which is really kind of wild. Hey, give me just a second here. Okay. Basically, he comes up with supply and demand, and how as demand goes up, then different people will get in the game to supply, and then that's going to bring prices down. Okay. It's the it's the reason PS5s were being sold for like $1,200 at Christmas, right? So what he, oh man, I don't have enough time to talk about all this. Okay, I can't not teach you guys. So let's start fresh with Adam Smith. All right. Let's say it's 1750, and I take my horse to Florida. That's a hard trip from Crab Orchard to Florida, but I do it. I see my buddy. My buddy is eating these strange colored apples, and he peels the skin off of them and then he eats them. And I'm like, hey, what kind of apple is that? And he says, Herbie, you're hilarious. That's an orange. And I say, orange? What is this? I'm just the poor boy. Nobody loves me, right? And so I've never been to Florida. Can I try it? And he's like, yes, of course. And so I eat the orange, and it's the best thing ever. And I'm like, God almighty, give me the seeds. Let me grow some of these in Kentucky. And he goes, ha, 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 Herbie, you can't grow oranges in Kentucky. What are you, crazy? And I'm like, but I'll never, I mean, it's so hard for me to get down here. Let me, can I just go over to these trees and grab them? Like, are they free? And he's like, yeah, dude, it's orange season. You just eat them if you want to. I'm kind of sick of them. And so I got get these burlap sacks and get as many oranges as I can, hang it over my horse, and head back to Crab Orchard. And I roll up to Crab Orchard, and I'm playing 2K with my friend Caden Kidwell there, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, hey, come over later. I have these really cool oranges you might want to try. And so I give him one, and he eats it. He's like, oh my God, this is delicious, man. Give me some more of these. And I'm like, there's a very limited supply. I don't want to be sharing my oranges with you. And Kane's like, crap, man. God, that was such a delicious orange. What am I going to do? And he goes, Herbie, I will give you, well, he calls me Mr. Brock because he respects me. I'll give you $10 for another one of these. And I'm like, no way, man. Do you know how much it's going to take me to go back to Florida? I'm not going back to Florida. I had to go through Georgia. Yeah. 20 bucks, no. 30 bucks, no. 40 bucks. Sure. 40 bucks, he gets his one orange. Well, he's snacking on his orange, and Maddie Ellis walks up and says, Caden, what is that weird apple you have? And Caden goes, oh, this is an orange. They're very expensive. And Maddie's like, well, can I try it? And so he peels her off a wedge, and she takes a bite, and she's like, oh my God, that's spectacular. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And he says, and Maddie says, where'd you get that? Did you get that over at the general store in Crab Orchard? And Kane goes, no, I know a guy, but you're gonna have to pay like $40 if you want one of these. And Maddie's like, $40? That's a steal. These things are delicious. So she comes over to my house and she says, hey, Brock, let me get 2 oranges, please. Here's 80 bucks. And I'm like, sorry, Maddie, I'm not selling any more of these. These are mine. I'm keeping them. All right. And then Maddie, being way smarter than Caden, let's be honest, gets this idea. If I would pay Brock $40 for one of these oranges, I can take a cart down to Florida and I can just load it to the top, and then I can come back to Crab Orchard and I can be 1,000 there pretty quick. And so that's exactly what Maddie does. And so she goes to Florida, she comes back, Maddie's Orange Emporium right out there beside the Redhead shop and across the road from the dollar store. $40 a piece. And people come and they just start buying these oranges at $40 a piece. And Maddie gets rich. And she goes back to Florida for another load. And when she gets there, she's like, Caden Kidwell, what in the holy heck are you doing down here in Florida? And Caden's like, I was going to take this cart here and fill it up with oranges and go back and sell it in Crab Orchard. And she's very mad, right? But what can she do, right? Nobody's going to tell her she can't do it or Caden can't do it. So Caden comes up, sets his shop up on the other side of the road from Maddie, and his oranges are $39 a piece. Same grade oranges at a better value. And so all of Maddie's customers over to Caden. What's Maddie going to do? I better drop mine down to 38. Everybody's over here. Now, these movements, that's the invisible hand. The invisible hand is bringing out more selection and lowering prices. And then, while these two guys are fighting, Hannah Robinson gets back from Florida with her cart. Yeah, I see you there. And she starts selling. And now there's 3 different types of oranges, and everybody's competing. And the next thing you know, there's Dylan Thompson. He's got his cart. Everybody's competing. At the end of this is what the invisible hand means. Now we have oranges at a price that is affordable. We have a selection of oranges. We have people making a profit off of the oranges. And the price is fair. Let's say the trip to Florida and everything involved in the cost ends up being about $10 an orange. Okay. And so if Maddie comes back and she sells her oranges for $10, she didn't make any kind of profit. Why would she do that, right? She would drop out. And then there'd be less supply. And that would, and so the thing is like, I make a profit. That's why I'm selling it. You get it at a price you can afford. That's why you're buying it. And that brings everything balanced. Everything is, that's the invisible hand. I get low prices, I get a wide variety, and you get to make money. Okay. And so my favorite Adam Smith quote is here. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. Benevolence means goodness. All right. What this means is if I go to Applebee's, you know, that fancy restaurant Applebee's, and I get a steak, and the waiter comes out, and like, oh, Mr. Brock, so good to see you. How's it going over there in Rockcastle? Just really nice, you know. And I'm like, wow, man, this waitress is so nice. This is such a great place. And the cook in the back like grills my steak perfectly, just the way I want it. They bring it out. And even the cook comes out, he goes, hey, Mr. Brock, how's that steak? Is that pretty good? Is that how you wanted it? And I'm like, man, scrumptious, delicious steak at Applebee's. And like, I'm all, you know, I'm the consumer. I'm like, man, this is a great restaurant. These guys are killing it. They must really care about me. Adam Smith would say, no, that's fluffy, utopian communism crap you're trying to say, Mr. Brock. The reason that waitress is nice is because you can give her a tip, right? And the reason that cook is nice and doing a good job, because if Applebee sucks, it goes out of business and the cook doesn't have a job, right? If you brag on the cook to the manager, then the cook might become a manager, right? If the cook is doing such a great job at this crappy Applebee's restaurant and people are starting to notice, he might be able to get a job at a real fancy restaurant like Golden Corral. Okay. And so everybody's wanting to get something out of everybody else, and we all win. Now that's capitalism. And when the government comes in and starts meddling with the process, That's not laissez-faire. That's not the government is hands off. And so when it comes to what capitalism is, please remember that it means the government stays out as much as possible. Okay. Now, in the next unit, we'll talk about communism, and the government is the economy. And it's really fun. Okay. So remind me on Monday, guys. I should remember, but remind me on Monday that I need to wrap this stuff up here. I'll have this PowerPoint up in Canvas pretty soon. I'll send the video about grades and how things are going to work pretty soon. I strongly encourage you guys to go to the English ACT thing after this, and to go to the math one at 1. Also, send your positive vibes towards the academic team for this Saturday as we try to win region, and it's all good. And I think it's awesome that you guys got up on your Friday and came to do a good thing. Okay, so all that said, keep up the good work and have a good weekend. I'll see you all on Monday. Bye.